Hey guys, my name is Alex Barham. Unfortunately, the worst thing about the code has been its COVID rollout. There's a lot of reasons for that. Dagger's parent company, Dagger themselves, sort of backed into a corner. Whitewater does not pay the bills. Truthfully, I had to bum one just to get in it. So, wish I'd gotten it out sooner, but work with what I got. Because of that, before I even paddled the boat, I interviewed Snowy, which is backwards from when I usually do it. I came in really focused on the stern. Snowy came in really focused on dynamic. He must have said dynamic 7 times. Those 2 words are basically going to be the backbone of this review. So most people, when they're looking at the code, especially the initial photos of it, just went, oh, that bow. Yeah, there's a lot of bow rocker. If you look at this hull, it's definitely going to scream at you. But really, if you think about it, that bow rocker can only jump up if the stern can go down. I'm going to talk a lot more about this in comparing the Scorch and the code in a later video, but in order for the bow to kick up, inherently the stern has to go down. So a long, sleek stern, think about a 12R, a green boat, something like that. There's plenty of rocker in those boats if you actually look at them, but because they're so long, the boat kind of has to be forced flat. By going shorter with this stern, the code really gets this unique personality. When the code was first announced, it was more or less understood, if not simultaneously sort of explained, that it was going to replace the Mamba. The Mamba was a classic, tried and true boat that really now only held space in a beginner market. When someone was getting into kayaking, you tended to push them towards the Mamba. Well, that was well and good, but if you're going to roll a mold, it really needs to make quantity for the company to make any money. So it was time for a refresh. And not only that, but this is an opportunity for Dagger to make a boat in 3 full sizes. With that being said, I'll be truthful and say that I really wasn't excited about the code when it was announced. I sort of thought it would be a humdrum, nothing to see here, not a high performance beast. I'm happy to say I was wrong. The code, I think, is the highest performing semi-displacement kayak ever made, okay? So if we just go and look at the hull, semi-displacement means that it is rounded off. There isn't a big flat planing surfboard bottom, but there are still hard chines that can be engaged, and there is a flat surface down there for surfing. It does have that feel of a flat primary stability that you kind of cruise around in, and then a reserve of displacement edges, which allow you to both bounce off rocks because they're soft, but grab and dig in when you need to really drop an edge. When you combine that with a stern that is quite bulbous, it's designed to shed water and pop just like the bow of a playboat does, and really aggressive bow rocker, what you get is a boat that is basically a surface-seeking missile. At all times when you are paddling the code, it is moving its way to get up and high. One of the things that Dagger really wanted was a high and dry ride. It's not only just an aesthetic that a lot of paddlers kind of go for, it gives you a smoother lines, but also for beginners and intermediates, it is just a lot easier to pop up and over things than it is to get bogged down. Now, by comparison to some other creek boats where these sterns are going long and sleek, kind of like a Scorch, which focus on giving you a long racing style distance focused push out of a hole, the code is really going to focus more on the up and away than the away. So you'll notice a lot that you will see the bow rise in my GoPro footage. What's happening there is that the stern is loading, it's getting pushed underwater and then popping. Very similar in feeling to a playboat kind of getting squirted out of a hole. It sounds strange to say that this is a good thing and that it happens basically everywhere, but once you understand the boat's going to do that and you harness it, it's an absolute weapon. This goes back to basic physics of kinetic and potential energy. By loading up the stern like a spring and then pointing the boat on edge, you can then allow the boat's buoyancy to push out and shoot the boat in the direction that you want to go. So you're now able to slingshot your buoyancy into line. I think that's really what Snowy meant by dynamic. Harnessing the energy of the river in a way that I don't think I really have before. I think that Snowy just has completely outdone himself in this boat. This is easily his best work. For having this new concept and learning and understanding this with the stern, everything else about the boat was completely intuitive. So it allows you to figure these things out, which is both incredible as an advanced paddler, but required and necessary if this is going to be their beginner boat as well. The ergonomics in this boat were fantastic. Of course, it comes with top-of-the-line Dagger contour outfitting. Everything about jumping into the code for the first time just felt like home. You're immediately able to jump into it and start performing. There is going to be a learning curve for sure, but because it does its job so well and everything is so as it should be intuitive, you're able to just put the pieces together in real time. It really saddens me that I haven't had more time in this boat. I might not get a lot more time in this boat just because it is so fantastic. The code is already become that boat that I'm pointing people towards. I think it is the absolute replacement and upgrade for basically any other displacement boat or semi-displacement boat to bring you into the future. The genuine criticism that I think people are going to have about this boat is, okay, this thing has so much performance, especially if you paddle a size up, it is super quick. But why did Snowy tuck the chines way up here and not give them a lot of bite? You basically, like dulled the boat, sanded off the hard chine like you might see on a waka. It's sort of defendable though, okay? Because if you had that much chine on it and you were always popping and squirting around the way at least I am enjoying paddling this boat, it would be really easy to give this thing too much edge and have it fly out of control. And honestly, that is one of the top criticisms that I've been getting about other boats out there that came out this year. So I think that by being a little bit soft, it actually gives you some leeway to have a degree of forgiveness, a little bit more play so that you don't have to be quite as precise. The boat is quick enough, responsible enough, and reliable enough that you can really get on those edges. So they don't actually need to be wildly sharp. You'll be able to get up on them if you need to, but the really nice thing about this is it brings the kind of performance that I used to always think like, oh, I'm gonna need a planing hull to really get this sort of bite and dig and aggression in a forward stroke. And it allows you to do it in something which rock bounces beautifully. The way that this thing just can roll off something either on rock or even, just a weird boof ledge is butter. And it's something that a really hard chine is much more challenging to pull off because you're sort of teeter-tottering. With that wonderful edge on this boat, you really feel an extra just moment of control falling off that allows you to kind of take that stroke a little later or pull it a little longer or just generally makes things easier. And it helps give you that real smooth look and feel doing things that I'm always chasing. So yeah, you could have put more chine on this boat, but the end of the day, you do have a Phantom if you just want something that's going to dig in and go straight. You can basically jump in a code and take one really good sweep stroke, and the boat will turn 2 full turns on the flat water. That is more or less unheard of for a semi-displacement hull. This boat is able to point and shoot, adjust on the fly with small draws in a way that you probably aren't used to seeing. So to wrap all of that into one package, you sort of have to figure out something in the middle. I've touched on this a few times now, but would I put a beginner in a code? I wouldn't be afraid to. And there's a couple reasons for that. A, it's Dagger. It's going to be super durable. When they inevitably swim and abuse it, it's going to put up with it better than some other brands' boats would. Because, as mentioned, it's super good on the point and shoot and the staying high and dry. I think it'll be a good boat for them. Now, one thing where it will punish beginners is going to be if they lean back and over a little bit coming out of a hole, you're probably going to cork this thing. Again, with the loading up stern and the twist, it's going to be a goner. Intermediate paddlers, I think this is just a slam dunk. This boat is absolutely fantastic in its ability to be quickly understood and mastered over a short period of time. And you don't need to tap into all the performance of it to just get down the river. But I think that as you learn, you will grow as a paddler into it, which is something that I am always focused on when I am recommending boats for people. Advanced paddlers, you're gonna love this boat. I think especially with it coming in 3 sizes, the small is gonna unlock a level of performance that most female paddlers and smaller human beings in general just haven't seen before. The medium is a great size. The large is big. It's big, but even so, being on the bottom side of the weight range for the large, I loved this boat. As far as I'm concerned, all of that is reserve rocker and volume. It's just waiting for me to tap into it. This might be the best all-around high-performance boat. Low volume, high volume, creaking, big lines. I didn't really see a place where this would fall short. Now, you could easily make an argument if you are coming from a really hard chined boat and that's your style, you like driving them that way, it might not be your personal preference. And really, you should know by now that that's where a lot of this is going to come down to. So once again, 2021, this has been my favorite year of reviews. I just feel like I've been raving this year about these boats. The designs have been off the charts fantastic. These designers are doing things so well. Hats off to everybody for the amount of R&D and work that is going into these boats, because they do not happen by accident. Now, if I could just get a large and an American flag pattern, that would be all I need.